This presentation will give you information on current labor laws. In the next few slides, we will discuss the history, how it relates to healthcare, and case violations of Occupational Safety and Health Administration, Family and Medical Leave Act, and the Civil Rights Act of 1991. The Civil Rights Act of 1991 is an amendment to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The act forces employers to pay compensation or punitive damages for the disregard of one's protected rights. The effect of this act has caused employers to have a prolonged and pricey legal process. Before the Civil Rights Act of 1991, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was created. This act was developed to end segregation and put a stop to employee discrimination based on race, age, religion, gender, and ethnicity. The education of healthcare professionals has to include issues related to discrimination, compensation, and competency. This is to ensure all employees are treated equally. This act has played a role in making sure that healthcare workforce is diverse and stable. An anonymous employee at HCA Healthcare Inc. filed for racial and ethnic discrimination because he was not promoted to a higher position due to being Asian American. The job position was instead given to a less experienced white coworker, which violated the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The EEOC filed a disability discrimination lawsuit against Indiana Munster Community Hospital for failing to accommodate a staff nurse who was injured on the job. She was supposed to be transferred to a different position in a hospital that would work with her restrictions, but instead she was let go. Medsurant Holding LLC, the company that manufactures neuromonitoring devices to assist nationwide hospitals and surgeons, was recently charged with sex and gender discrimination. A female nurse was found to have been paid less than her male coworkers despite many years of experience. The company retaliated after she reported them and she was let go. OSHA was passed in 1970 to ensure employees could work in an environment safe from hazards, injury, or death. This act led to the creation of an OSHA administration to investigate workplace violations and failure to comply with OSHA laws. This applies to every workplace, including healthcare hospitals and facilities. President Nixon signed the Occupational Safety and Health Act on December 29, 1970, which was enacted on April 28, 1971. During this, OSHA established training institutes, safety and health training grants, the on-site consultation program, state plans, and whistleblower protection for workplace safety. On May 25, 1986, the Occupational Safety and Health Act began enforcing its second phase, known as hazard communication. These rules provided workers with the right to know what hazardous materials they are dealing with while on the job. They did this by creating labels, using safety data sheets, and training them to handle chemicals appropriately. Since 2017, an Ohio-based vinyl tile manufacturer has been failing to protect workers from hazardous situations. OSHA opened an inspection following a report of a finger amputation in February 2023. Investigators learned that a machine operator's gloved finger became caught in a chain and sprocket system that didn't have the required safety guards in place. In the past 8 years, an Ohio musical instrument manufacturer has reported 6 amputations. Federal investigators found employees at the East Lake facility are injured 4 times the average rate. OSHA cited them for not using appropriate protocols and lack of training on procedures and proper machine guarding to protect their employees. In May 2023, the U.S. Department of Labor investigation found that Columbus Children's Hospital failed to protect employees from dangerous patients. The staff members suffered from concussions, lacerations, contusions, and sprains. OSHA proposed $18,000 in penalties towards the hospital for not taking precautions to protect their employees. FMLA allows eligible employees of covered employers to take unpaid leave for specific family and medical conditions for up to 12 weeks. It ensures that employees' jobs are protected and they cannot be fired during or because of a leave of absence. Employees have the right to return to their same positions with the same compensation and benefits. The FMLA bill was introduced to Congress every year from 1984 to 1993. In 1991 and 1992, Congress passed the legislation, but it was vetoed both times by President George H.W. Bush. In January 1993, the legislation was passed and signed by the newly elected President, Bill Clinton. 20 million employees take FMLA leave every year. 21% use it for birth or adoption of a new child. 73% use it for injury or illness of themselves or a loved one. Without the laws of FMLA protecting the employee's position and giving them leave, most employees would lose their job and benefits during this time. Let's discuss Kathleen Halferica versus St. Mary Medical Center. Kathleen was granted medical leave after being diagnosed with a disease. Her leave was longer than expected, and eventually her manager stopped returning her calls. She later received a letter detailing her termination. Kathleen took legal action, and one claiming her dismissal was retaliation. Ziccarelli versus Dart details another violation. He was a correctional officer who occasionally took medical leave due to work-related PTSD. After repeated requests of time off, his department threatened discipline. His mental health dropped after complying, and he retired 3 weeks later. Just discouraging the use of medical leave interfered with his rights. Our final case is Nevada Department of Human Resources versus Hibbs. Hibbs was granted 12 weeks of occasional medical leave to care for his injured wife. When his wife showed no signs of improvement, he changed his leave to full-time. The company declined and fired him. Hibbs sued the agency and was protected by FMLA as he had the right to care for his sick spouse. Before we leave you with our final thoughts, let's briefly go over key details. The 3 laws we spoke about are all significant to balancing and maintaining human principles. As you can see, labor laws have had a great impact on our lives and careers. We hope you found it useful and informative with real-life cases. Thank you for your time.